Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here together. Today, we are going to be continuing. We've been doing, like some of these videos and these interviews and things like that, talking about missional living on mission for God in our focus this year of evangelism, outreach, and missions. I have with me today Karen Waters. She is the wife of one of our elders, Tommy Waters, and she recently had an opportunity to live out her faith by witnessing on a missions trip. So, Karen, would you be able to share with us briefly where you went and what you were involved in and with on this missions trip?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm on staff with a missionary organization called Crew, and I mostly work in the state of New Jersey, but because we work with college students, they go on break sometimes. And so because of that, I was able to go with them on their spring break trips. There's different opportunities we get every year. And this year I went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and got the opportunity to share at the University of Puerto Rico the love of Jesus. And one day while we were there, we also did a service project to help fix up a woman's home that was pretty damaged from the hurricane, I think almost 6 years ago now.
Yeah, that's great. And definitely a huge part of these trips is going and showing people in a tangible way the love of God. But we also want to do that through what we say, through sharing and witnessing to others about what Jesus has done in our lives. So would you be able to share with us maybe some opportunities you had to do this on that trip?
Yeah, so one of the main ways that we went out sharing our faith was we used these surveys where we got the chance to hear from people where they're at spiritually, asking them questions about their spiritual background, maybe where they're at now spiritually, what they think about God, and all sorts of questions that might draw out just getting the chance to hear people's stories. And as we do that, we get to hear little pieces of how God is already working in their lives. And so I had many opportunities to hear what God was doing or what people were thinking about in terms of spiritual things. And then they will give me the opportunity, if I ask them, would you mind if I share with you what I've found to be true about God? And they'll often say yes, because I listened to them already and cared for them in that way. And then I get the opportunity to share the gospel and share my testimony. One girl in particular stands out to me, where I asked her what she thought about God and spiritual things, and we were using a picture survey, and usually people pick like one or two pictures, and this girl picked, it had to be 15 pictures of what she was thinking about in terms of God and spiritual things. And so I asked her to tell me a little bit more about her story and like why she picked so many pictures. And it turns out that she had grown up in a church but was still searching spiritually and just didn't know what the truth was. And so it was an easy in other words, for me to be able to then transition to the gospel and ask her if I could share with her, which I did.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of times we can hear, all right, well, you could say, oh, Karen, all right, you're a missionary. That's kind of your job. That's what you're supposed to do. Or you could say to us pastors, well, that's your job. That's what you're paid to do that. And that's true. And so we should be very good at that. But there still is some challenges. There's some nerves that we have to get over. And I think a lot of us can sometimes get hung up maybe because we're feeling, shy or hesitant or kind of like, man, I don't know what I should do. I don't know what that would look like. So from what you've learned from your experience, what advice would you give to somebody that's maybe feeling that shyness or that hesitancy? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the first thing is really knowing that having a different mindset about it, knowing that you are a sent ambassador. And that's true of me as a missionary and just as a follower of Jesus. And it's also true of you in whatever field that you do for your work or whatever else. Like, that's just true of us. It's our identity in Christ. And so once I made that shift in my life to see myself as a sent ambassador, that's when I started being able to take steps of faith. And God has called me mainly to do that through the avenue of Crew, but that's just my avenue. Like, other people have, your workplaces, your neighborhoods, your family, your friends, different places, spheres of influence that God has given you. And so I would say to kind of shift our mindset into understanding who we are in Christ and the purpose that he's given us in sharing our faith, and how we can be a part of his great kingdom work. That would be like the first thing I would say. And yeah, just taking steps of faith. Like I know for myself, like I don't clock out being a sent ambassador when I'm done working for crew for the day. So I often have to like look for opportunities in my personal life to share. And this past January, even like, for example, I was praying that God would give me an opportunity to share what I was learning about Jesus, because I was growing a lot in this past January in my own walk with him. And it was amazing how quickly he answered that prayer. I went to the chiropractor, and my physical therapist, she was like, so what have you been up to lately? And so I began to share with her, I've been reading these books and what I've been learning about Jesus. And so, this was just and I've had many opportunities since then to share with her, because it turns out that she was spiritually searching, and it was just a matter of me asking God for the opportunity and God already working in her life and opening the door. So I would say to pray for opportunities, because people are out there searching for Jesus and just waiting for us to kind of step in and share with them. So.
Yeah, that's super encouraging to hear. And that's a normal life example, right? Going to the chiropractor, just staying sensitive to God, put somebody in my path today that I can share with. And a lot of times, it's those simple things, praying for those opportunities, seeing yourself, like Karen said, as a sent ambassador, somebody who is on mission to witness others. And you're sharing what God has done in your life. We don't do these things. We've said it once, we'll say it again. These are not so that you guys can be like, wow, Karen, great job, you're doing such a good, but this is that, God, you're doing some amazing things. We want to be a part of that. We want to hear those things, celebrate those, and be inspired to do that in our lives. So Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that.